Welcome to CathyDSlaught's SRC4u Zoom call for April 12th, 2022. We're here on Cathy's website, CathyDSlaght.com. We're going to scroll down. We're going to look for this Zoom banner. Now, this is a demonstration of the SRC4u software. Now, for YouTube, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only. If you would like to demo the software, you can contact Cathy, or if you'd like to experience the SRC4u software, you can join Cathy's SRC4u Daily Energy Clearing Group. She also trains how to use the SRC4u software besides doing the Zoom calls. So we're going to click through. This is going to take us over to the Zoom call. It will be loud, so you need to reduce the volume on your speakers. One moment, please.
We're still running from yesterday, and we did. That was a powerful session yesterday. We had a high acceptance. And so I went in this morning. We're really doing well with keeping ourselves clear. We don't need the discarnate scan very often anymore because our body, I think, has remembered how to do it, or our energy fields, I should say. But look here, we do want another brain scan. Look at that, 98%. And that's been our focus anyway, has been our wonderful computer that is capable. There's a solution every problem, and we want to be able to access it. So I did the brain scan. Here's what we've got. Look at that, mood swings at a 0. That can't be true. And but let's go in and just see where we are with it. So look at this, a little stress with mood swings. Let's go ahead and do what we can to clear that.
Did you click mood swings? Mood swings are positive. I would think that mood swings.
The code.
The code. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you asked that because that is confusing. It's the code that's the positive. So, for example, let me just put that in there and I'll show you.
I have a really hard time with the negative. I don't know, so I'm trying to figure it out. Thank you.
I understand. I'm trying to get used to it also. But yeah, with the code, it's a good thing. But if we were to just put mood swings, and now we hit negative, we can get a real good idea of the level of stress. And so we got about a 50. Let's just go ahead and take that down. Oh, shoot, look at that. No wonder we're still going. I forgot to run it yesterday. I got to get more brain stuff for me to remember to go back into the Gong. Anyway, with this mood swing code, it looks like there is some stress. Could radiation be doing that? You know, it's hard to say. You are going to see some interesting information in reference to that today, but let's just see.
In the work that I did this morning so far, Alta work, what came up had to do with dryness. So and that we needed more water.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting just to understand. It's almost like being out in the desert and drying up. So I don't know how that is factoring in, but it feels like it's pertinent to the mood swings.
Thank you. I see dry a lot also. Let's just go ahead here. So we're taking the Shin in reference to the mood swings with an 88% benefit. See, we're asking for the code for the Alzheimer's. So that doesn't mean, as you know, this is off body. This doesn't mean anybody in the group has Alzheimer's, but the code, the stress of it. And let's just go ahead and see what we've got with that. All right, so that, again, takes it up to 101, very subtle work. And these are, in the list, you'll see these codes. Oh my goodness, that's a loud ding. You'll see these codes, and according to what I've read, these are meant to get just a 1 minute zap of energy. And we can easily do that. Got a couple of them here.
Did they say what? Just 1 minute?
Just 1 minute for these codes in this particular scan. They're just powerful codes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and this came from that, I can't think of the name of the group. I mentioned it the other day. AlteredStates.net, is that right? I think that's it.
Yeah.
And what you can do, if you're so inclined, let me just first of all see if we want this through the sustenance balancer. No. Let's finish this and then I'll show you something else you could consider. And I'm just going through when they come in low like this, indicating possibly a chronic stress. And I'm just going in to see if we can do any more with it. A lot of times it's these 3, 6, 9, or 108 repeats. You might remember yesterday at the end of the session, we wanted this brain scan too. This might end up being something we do often because of the stress out there.
Well, I think it's working both ways. I think it's stress, but I think it's also because we really are doing some up leveling with our frequencies. So everything within us is changing. So I think it's
That's true. That's true. That makes a lot of sense. I do see the positives. And so let's just see. We want the mastery for this one. No? All right, we're just going to have to let that one go right there the way it is. Maybe with the Pro Tools, do some investigation. But look at the stress related to the high blood pressure. And we are, the shin is not necessarily a disadvantage. It's a 63% benefit. But let's see. I do have a high blood pressure scan if I can pull it up in here. Let's see. Hey, no, don't want it. But it is important to note that the high blood pressure, if that goes on, will impact our memory, our brain, etc. Let's do the 3 times. And of course, poor memory. So it's interesting that we've been wanting this with our work in such a high priority for it.
Now, what are everything that we're working on right now? This is all related to a brain scan, or
what we have been doing for a while now. We got a real high number in working on the brain, and we started out with the preconception and pregnancy brain. Went into the teenage, then we went into the aged, and in between there have been different categories that kind of fit in. For example, now we know that the radiation, there is no question that it's got a negative impact. What I realize, and some of you, I'm probably talking to a group that's all too aware of this. But what happens, this may be why some of us did not rush out to scene when the government said it was okay. Because the government also said there was no problem with the cell phone radiation, and that was not accurate information, and there's plenty of scientific data to show that. So that's what we're doing, and I don't know what our next, we're actually going through a book called The Owner's Manual of the Brain. So my theory is if we focus on optimizing this wonderful computer we have in our head that was put here for us to create heaven on earth, we optimize that. That's what we're doing with clearing our stress. We're in the middle of a matrix of information, and there is a solution to every problem. Yes, we have to know the problem. I agree. We have to be aware of the problem. But with the knowledge, okay, now that I know about it, what do I do? How does it get corrected? And especially if we work together. And you remember the other day we had that code for transforming negative frequencies to positive, and we had like a 95% benefit of simply repeating that code to ourselves once in a while if we did it as, not necessarily the whole group, but, a number of us. And so that's the focus, and until we don't resonate any further with it, is to whatever stress we can do to optimize our brain. Okay, so we want to clear tangles inside the neurons. You see that 83% benefit? So let's go in here. And as you know, what happens is we've got all these brain cells, but they're basically worthless if they can't communicate. And for one thing, everything we learn produces another little bridge or a synapse or synapse, however you say it. And so the knowledge, that's where your knowledge comes in. What is it here? Comes in to be so significant, is because you're actually recreating your brain at the same time. And that's part of the interesting thing with knowledge. If we seem to be so programmed, we refuse it. So we've gotten a few tangles in reference to all this. Let's just go ahead and do some clearing on that. But that's the goal. That's why we're doing this. And let's go on with it. For example, I looked a little bit more into some codes for the radiation. And again, I don't like that word conspiracy because it's become very unpopular. It's a real label. And a lot of the conspiracies they now see actually turned out to be on target because there are some health challenges. I had this kind of mixed up yesterday in the notes, so I'm sending it again. There's nothing wrong with discovering truth. And one of the things you do discover is there were no testings done for the safety of the cell phones and the radiation because of the corporate influence on the FDA. Now, this is just fact. You can look it up yourself. So you got some of these codes yesterday, and I've just got a few more today. Let's just go ahead and do the whole list. Scan it.
I find it interesting when you go to buy a cell phone, the people in my experience at the cell phone companies have no idea what the SAR rating is. They've never even heard of that. Yeah, there's quite a disclaimer on our phones if you dig into the the disclosures in your phone?
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's amazing. And we have such an inbuilt idea, and the FDA in many cases is wonderful. For example, the FDA did not approve thalidomide. Europe, all over, you know, the disaster we had from thalidomide. The FDA did not approve it, which saved us. However, I now wonder, had there been some big money involved with approving it, would they have? I don't know, because that is what we're seeing. So here's what we want out of that long list, just 2 things, good. So just a little repair work. And you see, even, this is kind of interesting with the work, just to balance the brain, this list is not a big deal. And I still have more. We're looking for solutions. If anybody can send me information on any devices you're working with, and we can then, you know, present that information. This is one of the things that's happening. I'm going to go over the whole list with you, but what happens is with the radiation, our cells can no longer pull in the nutrients, and they cannot expel waste. And so that's what happens, is you have an intracellular free radical buildup, and of course that would be a negative thing. Let's just douse it down. All subtle energy coming from our field. And we see this behavior and psychological problems. And especially looking at what's going on in the world, just look around, and there certainly does seem to be some stress on this. So some are saying this is directly related to this high amount of radiation we're receiving, which is primarily from the cell phones. So let's see if that's a priority for Chi to balance that out. Now what I've done, you go down, you do your scan. Okay, yeah, it is. So you do your scan, and as Grandmaster taught, you take the numbers under 1,000, and those are probably pinpointing some stress. But just to check your polarity, you can go down to the very top number. And in this case, this is a priority for Chi to also look at this. And yeah, we're going to take that down. Let's just put it in the Gong, since I forgot to start that yesterday. Either that or I did it later in the day. We have an increase in the risk of tumors. Let's see, is that a priority for Chi, or are we now pretty balanced out? Wait a minute, I meant to put through that. Is it a priority? All we're doing is raising our life force with this kind of work so that we can access the information that we need. So is this a priority to clear this? So for our Chi. No, we're okay. So we can go ahead. And again, I just want to show you some of this. I think this particular group knows that I do need to get started posting again. I stopped when I was doing all this Zoom work, but it needs to go back in there, and so just have to do it. But it's kind of like a microwaving the brain is one thing I read, and I found a code for it. Some DNA damage, we've got a code to repair DNA. I've read very often that the autism is correlated with the radiation, and specifically there seems to be neurotransmitter stress. Let's just look at that in reference in general.
I've seen studies with autism and removing autistic children from Wi-Fi and great success with them improving.
Thank you very much. Yes. So, and the numbers are so high now. And so, of course, attention deficit, neurodegenerative disease, this we already mentioned here, cellular damage. Some people, it looks like, are going to be more sensitive than others. And so, that's just the way life is. Some can't sleep, a general just not feeling quite right. Headaches, anxiety disorder. Here's this intracellular free radical buildup, genetic damage, disruption of intercellular communication, cellular energy. We want our cellular energy used for our metabolism. We don't want it for trying to beat all these risks. This is basically what's happening, according to what I've read, is that with the radiation, the cell membranes actually harden. And of course, that's where you end up building up the waste products. And what's interesting, according to Bruce Lipton, is that around our cells are our little antennae that pull in the information that surrounds us. So if you've got all this going on, you might be a little bit stressed related to that. Unwanted cell death, and this is another thing. We're equipped, again, with our immune system, our brain, etc. We are so well equipped to just be in optimal health. And when we get thrown off, for example, the chemicals that come into our environment, we can't block them. So there is some significance to this. It's not a matter of panic because we know what to do. And most of us probably have a little tab on our cell phone, or we wear a little jewelry. There's some certain crystals we're going to talk about, etc. But to me, this is an awareness. We don't have to dwell on it. We just have to know. And so that is what that's about. So if we go back in here, we're still looking at the spleen. Let's just see if we want the spleen cocktail party. Let's see. Not quite. Or just our physical body. Let's see, how about, do we want to just recharge our whole body? And I guess since I'm putting positive, and we don't have to do always priority for cheap, I just got in the habit. That's pretty close. Let's do it. If we want to balance the nervous system through the S therapy. Yeah, we'll take it. Let's do it. Probably not a bad thing either to do on a very regular basis. Well, this has been coming up a lot, stress related to the hypothalamus, which is our thermostat, among other things.
Well, if we're talking about radiation with the hypothalamus, that's the first thing that I lose is hypothalamus function.
Okay, interest. Oh, and look at that. Look at that stress. So.
And thymus.
All right. Okay, let's look at that.
came up for me yesterday, Cathy. Both
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, I'm seeing it so often, and it's interesting how we all, of course, we are one, and we tend to go in similar veins. And again, that negative information, if we learn from it, it's not so negative. Let's just go ahead and put that. This comes up every now and then, this violence, and may not be our violence, but we're seeing the things like in Brooklyn. And let's just do just balance that. That's the only reason I personally don't want to talk too much about some of these things, because it really does put us in a state of alarm, and yet we have to know, so I don't know the answer. There is a technical meteorological term for a sunny, warm day which follows 2 rainy days. It's called Monday. That's Ray Foley's sense of humor. There's a little spiritual rejuvenation. See where we are with that. We could use a little oomph on that. Threatening. And got some stress related to some Western pathogens. Let's see the level of that. Let's see if we want it's interesting, very often, even though it's an obvious pathogen, that's not the route we want to go. Well, this time that's an exception. Let's go in here. The allergy coming up a lot. It looks more related to bacterial. Dental is another thing that's coming up quite a bit. Let's see if I can find it in here. I have it in the other computer as far as a cocktail now, but I haven't done it for this one yet. Let's see if we want this crystal again, which is for the perfect vibrational pattern of the heart. Let's just see if we want that. Give ourselves that extra voltage. Yeah, goes up to the 102. Let's do it. Can't hurt. Let's remember, what we're able to do, and this has been prophesized so many times, create heaven on earth. Let's see where we are with that at this moment in time. Look at that. All right. And then I did have a few, if I can get down here without taking too long. And that may not, but we do have some codes to see. Geez, I may not be able to. Okay, here we go. This is just for those of us who do believe that we can actually create with our thoughts. Here are a few codes to assist in that, because what we've got is, you know, a powerful sending and receiving machine with universal hookup. That's our brain. Let's just see, in reference to the power of the mind, which is somewhat coordinated by that brain. Right, so we're looking at mind power, reach goals, navigate towards whom we most want to be, project thoughts, and then our attention. Our focus may be a little off. Let's just put these all in. And there we go. And we're going to preserve our theme, which at this point, as you recall, is still the spleen. And that is what we already had been doing, so we'll just continue with that. Okay, well, listen, I will let y'all go. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Hey, take
Thank
care.
you, Cathy.
Bye. Bye.
This concludes the SRC4u Zoom call demonstrating the SRC4u software. Y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. We look forward to seeing you again. Till then, take care and be well.